What's up, YouTube? Just from Team Misplay here. Don't these clouds look like a nice fake backdrop in the sky? Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you today was a new segment that I'm going to be serializing, and it's going to involve luck and skill. Now, I don't know how many of my followers or people who just watch this on Pojo go to Duelist Grounds or not, but there was a thread started about luck versus skill, and this doctor who is very high up in Magic, I can't remember his name right now, I'll have a link to his video below. He does an entire seminar on a Magic the Gathering cruise about luck versus skill in games, which can be applicably applied to multiple games. Now, I'm not going to just sit here and do a video talking about luck versus skill and pretty much paraphrase his video for you, because that would be, theft of idea. What I'm going to talk about is how it relates to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll give you a quick rundown of some of his points, and I'll be doing multiple videos so that I can keep these videos short. So when he talks about games, he's talking about that there are games that are inherently luck-based and inherently skill-based. Shooting dice is luck-based. And then a game like chess is very skill-based. And there, of course, there are games in between. There's high luck, high skill, low luck, low skill. Low luck, high skill. Low skill, high luck. And he just goes on to talk about that. But I'm going to be talking about this specifically in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the way that Konami has chosen to handle the game. Now, there's going to be, in any card game, there's luck involved. Now, in a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh!, there's also skill. And the gap between the two has obviously been growing smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as the game has progressed. Now, there were very skill-intensive formats that people talk about. Now, your idea and my idea of skill-intensive may be different, so I'll be presenting both ideas of skill-intensive. Some skill-intensive formats, people have said, have been formats like Teledad and Go Control. Formats that people are starting to play because they said everything was the same deck, your side deck was geared towards beating the mirror match, and it was all about who played better because everybody knew what every card was and every card did and how every match was going to go in a given format. And then other players have said that a more skill-intensive format is a skill-intensive format similar to pre-The Shining Darkness, pre-Storm of Ragnarok, and just other formats here and there where there have been like 5 or 6 different decks. I remember before The Shining Darkness, it was like Black Wings, Gladiator Beast, Synchro Cat, Monarchs, Machina Gadgets, and a bunch of other stuff. And, pretty much you couldn't really devote a side deck to just anything in particular because there was going to be a big, huge plethora of decks that you were going to have to play against in order to really maximize, or in order to like get through a big tournament because anything could win. But anyway, luck and skill. Back on topic. The way that Konami has been releasing product, working the ban list, doing reprints and structure decks, starter decks, and the quality of the product that they're releasing, and by quality I mean what the kind of cards they are releasing, has really pushed it more towards a luckness factor in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, that's not to say that it can't become a big skill factor when the game progresses, but when the game starts out, it's a very, luck-sacky way to go. It sucks. Your opponent opens Torii Shark, Pot of Avarice. Your opponent opens Rabbit 3 Back Rows. Your opponent opens Future Fusion, Tour Guide, and a Chaos Monster. All these things are very luck-based on how they draw. But the thing is that skill, not all skill is lost in the game. It's just that the gap between luck and skill has diminished. Now, to combat that, us players have evolved as players. So now people main Maxis and Effect Veilers because opening up a hand trap is just as likely as opening up a 3-card combo. in the sense that sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, and what you can do to avoid that, you created a new way to luck into a skill play. Um, Also, we've grown to know how to handle these decks. The players who have persevered through the format, has dealt with the formats, and that doesn't mean that they like the format. That doesn't mean that they think the format is good, or that the format is going the way that it's supposed to be, or that it's a type of format that's good to play in or good for the player environment. What I'm saying is that these players are the players that have persevered through and dealt with the issues that they've been placed in front of them, and who have performed well in spite of the fact that it's not quite a dice roll format. It's more of an opening 6 cards format. What was your open good or was your open bad? Because most decks, if they open God, it's nuts. If they don't open God, then it's a grind game, no matter what. Outside of a few decks, Inzectors, if they open just terrible, then they pretty much lose. Dino Rabbit can play with their back rows a lot. Chaos Dragons can keep putting on slight bursts of pressure, and windups can make egg seeds that are hard to deal with and just wait. All these decks can grind. All these decks can grind. The only deck that I can't really think of is Inzectors. If they open terribly, then generally you put on too much pressure and they can't do it. But I'm not saying that Inzectors are a lower class of deck. I'm just saying that they have a harder grind game than most other decks. But anyway, back on topic of luck versus skill, the skill factor involved in the game isn't necessarily like long term. The skill factor in the game is more for managing. The game is about managing now. Skill used to be outplaying your opponent. Now I believe that skill is about how well you manage your gameplay, how well you manage game 1 especially, and how well you manage once you go to game 2 and 3 with your side deck and mastering what to do there, because typically game 1 is going to be a throwaway. It's either going to be irrevocably in their favor or your favor, but it's never, it's rare that game 1s actually go back and forth unless you both open nuts hands or you both open mediocre average hands. But the skill now comes in being able to manage those game 1s, making your deck ready for those game 1s, maximizing your deck to handle game 1s against anything. Because I know, again, on DGZ I've talked about a lot of people have talked about particularly how you sit down and you're just hoping and praying that player X is not running A, B, or C deck. What really chances are they are running one of A, B, or C deck, and now you have to be able to manage handling exactly how to deal with that deck. But yes, this has been part 1, and I want to leave you with luck and skill. The gap is decreasing, especially in Yu-Gi-Oh! At a very fast rate. A lot of people can win based on luck, and it's rough, and which is why I believe that Konami has increased their top cuts in big events from 8 to 16 to 32, and at Nationals it was top 64, because there is luck in the game, and Konami understands that there is luck in the game. So the gap between skill players getting in and luck players getting in has decreased, which means that if it's a 50-50 shot of skill versus luck getting in, then you could have half of a top 8 filled with nothing but luck players, or even all of a top 8 filled with nothing but luck players, whereas a top 32, or in the case of Nats, a top 64, you have a lot of skill players who manage the game well, manage the tournament well, managed their bad matchups well enough in order to perhaps steal a few match wins from their bad matchups and pilot their way into a top cut. In the next segment, I'll be talking more about how Konami introduces luck into the game, not just to shake up the meta, but also as a marketing scheme. Be sure to comment on this one. I know I always say rate, comment, and subscribe, but I really want to hear your thoughts. Comment on this one. You don't have to rate. I don't care if you subscribe or not. I just want to know what your thoughts are on this. Again, I'll have a link to the I'll have a link in the description below to the video on the seminar. Now it's a Magic seminar, but it applies to all games. Um, and also, I will be doing a video with a another YouTuber. His name is Chris is so pro. And we're probably doing like a crossover video, not a swap, or maybe a swap. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, this has been Justin from Team Misplay. And remember, it's not a pro play unless it's a misplay.